Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So welcome back here to Boston. We're here at the AFT convention. So outside Exhibit Hall B1, I'm sitting here with Randi Weingarten. She's the president of AFT, the American Federation of Teachers. Randi, thanks for taking time for us.
It's always good to be with you, Rick. Thank you.
I appreciate you inviting us here and letting us talk to the faithful here. It's been an incredible event so far.
Look, our members are amazing, and this is our first in-person convention since 2018 when we were in Pittsburgh, and 20 was virtual, and we've been doing a whole lot of in-person events, but this is 3,000 people coming together. The hall was packed. Everybody, we're trying to do COVID protocols the right way to make sure that people don't get sick. But the sense of mission and zeal about what we need to do for a better America, you just feel it.
Yep.
You feel both the frustration and the anger about how public employees and nurses and educators and have been treated, particularly by the right wing, but you also feel at the same time the sense of aspiration and hope, and that we're fighting for a greater good because we're the aspiration agents making a difference in the lives of people. And to have all those people in a room that every single day try to make a difference in the lives of others and make things better for people is pretty awesome.
No, and that's where I started today. I talked about the fact that everybody that I talk to, while they're talking about themselves and how they're going to make their conditions better, it's always about somebody else first.
Yes.
It's always about how they're going to help the children learn better,
Yep.
how they're going to make their lives better. And that, to me, I got to tell you, that passion, that's inspiring.
That is who my members are. That's who AFT members are. And I'm not, and look, I think that's who a lot of workers are around the country. But they also know that it is through a union and the power you get by working together in relationship with each other, in community with each other, is how you change things. That, I'll borrow what Ann Richards said, very few of us are born with a silver spoon in our mouths. And it really, to create powerful working people, you have to have the power of a union.
Yeah. Now, the theme of this is reclaim our future, as I see on the signs all around. Yeah. And because, look, the reality is there's a massive movement across this country to privatize, to profitize, to destroy public education and take this one lifeline away from so many people. And yet I put it out on social media and people, what do you mean by reclaim? What do you mean about our future? There's all of this. So when you say reclaim our future, what are we talking about?
Well, look, for anybody who actually listened to my speech, I know it was long, but I talked about the fundamental building blocks to get to a better life for all, which is education, labor, democracy, keeping our freedoms, keeping our economic security net. And so for us to reclaim our future, we need to empower everyone and treat everyone with dignity and respect. Not this blame and shame and point fingers. Everybody wants to get back to normal.
Right.
And everybody wants a decent life where they can rely on what they earn to, give their kids a better life. So the fundamentals to a better life are to make sure that we go back to the fundamentals of learning. Safety in our communities, safety in our schools, having community schools, wraparound services, and having a hub for parents and kids, and having the food assistance and the other things to level the playing field. Having kids have joy, robotics, government, student government, recess, having reading, and the other kind of subject areas that kids need to flourish. Having career tech ed. Yeah, people who go into culinary arts or cybersecurity programs, they can earn a good living even after high school.
Right.
Let's make those opportunities available. So, working with parents dealing with the teacher shortage. These are American values, making sure that schools have what they need so our kids can have a brighter future and going through the fundamentals, the basics, critical thinking, life skills, CTE, community schools, reading, safety, play, and then having a labor movement because everybody needs a raise to deal with all this stuff that's going on in terms of inflation, and then having a democracy that works for the people. So instead of Rick Scott trying to, if the GOP wins, so, if Oz beats Fetterman, for example, in Pennsylvania, or if Vance
Please don't say that.
But what I'm saying is, or if Vance beats Ryan in Ohio, what Rick Scott, believe them when they tell you, what has he said? Oh, we want every law to sunset in 5 years. So what does that mean for civil rights? We already see what happens in terms of voting rights. What does it mean for Social Security and Medicare? That these laws just automatically sunset? Who's gonna vote for them again? Look what we just had when you had Voting Rights Act sunset and what happens. So listen to them when they say what they're going to do, because that's what they're going to do. Betsy DeVos's pal, Christopher Rufo, he has said they want a universal voucher program, and the way to get it is to create universal public school distrust. That's what they're trying to do. The blame, the shame, make everybody fight with each other. The tool of the autocrat, sorry, I'm a social studies teacher. The tool of the autocrat is despair and apathy. The tool of the Democrat, I'm not talking about Democratic Party, I'm talking about the Democrat,
Right.
is hope. And the recognizable feature of hope is action. So we act on our values. We work in community. We try to make things better. That's what I'm talking about in terms of essentials for a better life for all. And even when we disagree with each other, we recognize the basic humanity of each other.
No, and that's all great stuff. But the reality is we're in a moment where we're more divided than we've been in my entire lifetime. And education should be one of those things that pulls us together, not rips us apart. But as you've pointed out, they've used this as a dividing tool. I mean,
Right.
we went through an election where it was something about a theory that's critical and race, something along that line that ripped us apart. This seems to be, again, how they're
Right.
beating us.
So the analysis is you can try to scream and, louder than they are and say, no, that's not who we are. That's what they want. They want the scream fest. That's what they've been able to do. What we're doing is saying, let's actually do the work and challenge politicians to work with us as opposed to their division and their culture war, because frankly, at the end of the day, that's what parents want and that's what teachers want. That's why 99% of the budgets were approved in New York this spring. That's why pro-public school candidates won in elections, in school board races in New York, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, Montana. So we're doing the work to help kids.
There you go.
While they are yelling and screaming and trying to divide people, we're doing the work to help kids, but we also have to vote because there really is a 10-alarm fire.
There you go. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show here with Randi Weingarten. She's the president of AFT, the American Federation of Teachers. Make sure you check out their website, aft.org. We'll get links out on social media how you can check that out. Now, you talked a minute ago about the labor shortage. Is there a teacher shortage going on, and why is that?
There's a teacher shortage going on because there's a shortage of respect, and there's a shortage of pay, and there's a shortage of the conditions that we need in order for teachers to do the best work they can do for kids. So there's a teacher shortage. There's been a teacher shortage for a long time, but now it's worse and worse and worse. Before COVID, you had about 300,000 teachers a year that retired or that left, 2/3 of them before retirement. And now you just have a lot of places where people are just packing it in early. 40% of our members in a recent poll in the last few weeks said they're going to pack it in early. That's too much. These are experienced people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's the politics, the lack of respect, the blaming and shaming. How many times, look, I even get it, like, really? How many more times is Fox going to call me names or pretend I said something that I never said? And just to try to stoke up anger on the other side. And I'm a public figure.
Yeah.
What happens if you're a teacher or a bus driver and all this shit gets thrown at you? That's not what you signed up for. But the other side wants the chaos. They want the anger. They want to keep the resentment brewing. Americans want to have some calmness and some stability and to have a better life. And we got to fight for that. But it is about what we do,
Right.
how we act.
Now, clearly I think a lot of people are now coming awake to our Supreme Court with the most recent decision coming out of there. And look, I've got two daughters who are, becoming more politically active, who may have never been that interested before because of the Dobbs decision.
I know.
How is this going to affect teachers? How is this going to affect your members in places where this is now going to be front and center?
Well, it's going to affect people because, it's going to affect people in any number of ways. Look, Hillary Clinton said this. She called this out in 2016. She said this is the consequence of what happens.
She was right about everything.
With Donald Trump. Well, she was certainly right about this. And people didn't believe it. I will never forget the people who were voting for Jill Stein saying, well, there's no difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Really? Dobbs, Brune, Janice, all of these decisions, there's a pretty big difference in terms of who's on that Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And as much as they say that, they're originalists, what they're doing is taking away other people's freedoms. You take away, regardless of where people feel about abortion, taking away the right of a family to decide when to have children, that's a pretty big right to take away. A child who gets raped or who is the victim of an incest, all of a sudden that is no longer an exception? I don't, the states that try to make sure that guns are not replete in streets and to get weapons of war off streets, all of a sudden they don't have the right to regulate that anymore. A 100-year law that was passed when Teddy Roosevelt was governor of New York, stripped away. Teddy Roosevelt was governor of New York. He was a Rough Rider. So the EPA no longer have the right to regulate in climate issues. This is taking away people's freedoms. And so, at this point, the way to change this is to vote. If we had two more Democrats in the Senate, the U.S. Senate right now, yes, I know it's 50-50, but if there were two more Democrats in the Senate right now, we would have a statutory right around the lines of Roe. And we would not have the kind of anxiety that is happening in so many places across the country. And to my colleagues and friends in places like New York where, people rush to pass a Roe-like bill, I'm saying that if they get the people they want in the Senate and the House, it's not going to be a state decision about this. There will be prohibition against abortion everywhere in the United States.
No, that's what they want.
That's what they want. So it's just a matter of believe them when they say it. as opposed to saying, oh, it's never going to happen. That's what Jews said in Germany before Hitler got into power. We have to be vigilant about our democracy. We have to be vigilant about our freedoms. And that means the community coming together, fighting to make sure that we have a better life for all, meaning doing in our space how we help make sure that schools do what we need to do to help kids be prepared for college and career, to help them feel a sense of normalcy. But it also means, as a labor movement, having this moment to try to help other people organize, because we know it's the labor movement that's going to help with the transformational power of collective bargaining that helps people have better conditions.
And at the end of this, and where I want to wrap this up, is you talked about two things a moment ago. You talked about empowerment, you talked about dignity.
Yep.
Those are the two most important things to me: empowering people to change the things that they can and change the world by changing their community, and the dignity to demand better.
Yep, exactly right.
And then I look at the situation with the gun issue, and I know you're going to have a panel here on the gun issue, and I looked at what the video that came out of Uvalde, which is disgraceful, and all of this, and we can and we must and we should be making changes, and sadly our system's still broken.
Yeah, the system's broken. I mean, look at how, I am sure, well, I shouldn't, that those videos from Uvalde, there's a reason that parents who lost kids, there's a reason that the two teachers' families are so angry. There was some fundamental flaws there. But think about how quickly Texas Governor Abbott, when Beto O'Rourke said at one of those meetings, you need to look at all this, they rushed to move him out. Think about how quickly they rushed to congratulate themselves that not more children died.
Yeah.
Think about how quickly they rushed to say, oh no, we should arm teachers. Like, stop thinking about politics, Governor Abbott. Stop thinking about politics, Senator Cruz. Why don't you think about people's human dignity? Why don't you think about people's right to live? Why do people have any less right to live after they're born than you think about when, after procreation? And that's part of the political poison that is in the United States right now. It's this, they don't have anything to say to actually make things better, so they just want to create fear.
And tear things down. And this is where I think your members and folks like you are doing such an important job. I appreciate you having us. Thank you. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
Hope, aspiration, and the greater good. It takes conditions, it takes a union, it takes us working together. But I still believe that Americans want their better days ahead of us. We just have to understand what the dangers are, and we have to actually vote for the people who are going to help us get to hope, aspiration, and greater good.
There you go. Randy, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. We're going to be here at the convention. Back after this.
Divided we beg. Rick Smith.